paper developing a research proposal, format of research proposal, presentation and assessment by a review committee, and thesis writing. In fact, thesis writing is not included, but it is very, very important. So I have added it. So my lecture will be in two parts. One is the paper writing, proposal writing, and the second one is thesis writing. In fact, the methodology for writing either a report or a research proposal or a thesis is more or less similar. The only difference is that the extent to which you write the document differs. In the case of a research proposal writing, there will be a prescribed format supplied by the agency who will be funding the proposal. So you have to fill in the columns or sections suggested by that particular organization. But basically, the information that is required to be presented for writing a research proposal or writing a research paper or writing a research thesis are more or less similar, which contain an abstract and then an introduction and then a motivation or background and then the methodologies and the expected outcome in the case of the research proposal when you are writing for the funding purpose, and the results or conclusions which you have obtained if it is the case of a research paper publication or a thesis documentation. In the case of research proposal writing, the format includes an estimate of the budget and also the time frame in which you plan to carry out various activities related to the research proposal or research scheme. In fact, in case of thesis writing also, it is suggested that you frame for yourself a time frame or time chart in which you will be carrying out various activities, like for example, basic background literature survey, then the data collection, then the data or implementation of data collection or methodology for collecting the data or experimentation, whatever it is. Then analysis and interpretation of the results, and then presentation of the results in standard format, and then the documentation. So for these activities also, you can identify a time frame while you are writing a thesis. So the similarity between thesis writing and research proposal writing is that both of them include a time chart, whereas writing a research paper, you don't require a time chart. You only require dividing the various activities in which you have done the work, research work, and identified certain aspects to divide them or classify them into various sections such as introduction, background, and then methods and tools, data collection, and then results, and their presentation. Finally, conclusions. The conclusions will be common in the case of a research paper as well as the thesis writing. In case of research proposal, since you are proposing the work and so far no work has been done in that direction, you only expect certain results. So, in the case of research proposal writing, for conclusions, you suggest the expected outcome. In addition, the expected outcome, in the case of research proposal writing, you have to identify the organizations or agencies to which your proposed study or your proposed research will be useful. So that is the basic difference between a research proposal writing and a paper writing or thesis writing. So with this background, let us proceed to the various aspects about the research proposal, research paper writing. Scientific research is of two kinds. They are descriptive and experimental or analytical. This classification I have already given while discussing the various types of research methodologies or methods. But here, to give benefit to the students who are joining for the first time, and also which will be a recapitulation for the other students, the descriptive type of research is basically through secondary sources and based on natural observations or case studies and correlational studies. Post facto research, that means something which is already known, that will be considered, and your interpretation will be incorporated in the outcome. This is mostly based on surveys and the participant observation. That is the descriptive type of research. Whereas experimental or analytical research are different in the way that in the experimental research, you find the cause and effect relationship through controlled experiments. So you conduct an experiment and then you create a cause, or you create a situation, or you create a scenario and observe its influence or effect on the system. So it is a cause and effect study. In analytical methods, the same technique which I expressed for experimental will be used, but slightly in a different way. In the case of analytical approach, there will be a mathematical background for the problem, and you carry out either numerical modeling or computer simulation or try to get a closed form solution. So the entire research process, whether it is a research project or whether it is a research leading to the award of a thesis PhD degree, they are more or less similar. So the research process, which we have discussed already, contain hypothesis, that is problem definition, and then the design, that is approach to the problem, and the research design, where you identify the research methodologies. Then the experiment, which may be either field work or a laboratory study or a computer oriented work. Then testing. So the testing includes the preparation of the data or collecting the data from the experimentation which was conducted in earlier stage, and then its analysis. Then ultimately reporting. So the reporting includes the report presentation, preparation, and its presentation. If you are going to submit a research proposal for funding to a funding organization, you have to present your proposed work in front of a committee which will go through the positive aspects of the proposal and the feasibility for its success and the limitations and the possibility of funding. So that is the presentation. Then finally, when you carry out the research project, research study, then you have to submit the report based on your work. This is for research project reporting. Now, if you are conducting research for award of a degree, then also the same step is involved. There also you follow a number of steps which I have already discussed earlier, and ultimately present the information in the form of a thesis, in the form of a document, which is quite often referred as a thesis or dissertation. So that report or the thesis contains a title, an abstract, then an introduction, then the methods, then the results, conclusions, references, and appendixes, if any. So these are the broad items which will be included in a research report or in a thesis document. Now, you may ask me a question. Why, after all, we are supposed to write a report? What is the purpose of writing a research report or a thesis report or thesis documentation? The answer is very simple. Whatever you carry out will have a purpose. When you are doing a research, it will have a purpose. The purpose sometimes is achieving a degree or a qualification or gaining a knowledge, improving your knowledge data, or adding to the already existing state of the art of the technology or the subject. Apart from this, your thesis, your research proposal will enable an organization or a management in the organization to take a decision. So the upper management will have a decision controlling power. So when you provide a detailed knowledge as a project engineer, then the top management will be able to take up the decision in a controlled and useful or effective manner. So for this purpose, your research proposal or your research report should be written in such a way that is useful to the upper management or to the industry or to the profession or to the academia. Now, professionals spend a great deal of time writing technical reports to explain the project information to various audiences. as I told, the audiences will be either academic community or the managerial people or the professional executives or the upcoming researchers. The upcoming researchers also include your, the readers who are interested in your research. So the importance of research writing is that engineers and professionals perform technical writing to communicate. This is very, very important. See, when you do the work, if you keep it in yourself or you just keep it as a black box and only allow people to get benefit out of it without understanding the ins and outs of the process, it is not fair. So therefore, the engineers and professionals perform technical writing to communicate pertinent information that is needed by the upper management to make intelligent decisions that will affect the organization's future. Now here I can replace the terms management and then organizational future by academia or researchers to come. So therefore, the technical writing is required or is to be performed or to be taken up to communicate the pertinent information that you are going to, that you have derived out of a research, which will be useful for the industry or which will be useful for the academia or which will be useful for the further study by upcoming researchers. So that should be the reason why we should take up writing of a thesis. Now, when you are preparing a report and then presentation of the process include, first of all, the problem definition and the approach which you are going to carry out and transforming your problem into a research design and a field work which you have done. Now here field work refers to the collection of information or gathering information which helps you to formulate your research and to take up further steps in conducting the research. That means it includes literature review also. So therefore, the problem definition, which comes from a motivation, and then the approach, which is possible by having certain knowledge about the physical process involved or the experience of the earlier investigators in the form of literature review. Then identification of the methods and the tools, which is the actual approach to your problem. Then research design includes the various identification of the various objectives and the various tasks which when performed will help you to draw conclusions or to draw information which can be inferred or which can be interpreted to draw inferences. And sometimes during this process, you may have to conduct certain experiments, which may be either fieldwork or which may be a laboratory studies or a mathematical simulation. Then the other things include the analysis of data, interpretation, conclusions and recommendations, and the report preparation and an oral presentation, followed by reading of the report by the client and research follow-up. Now here you just think like this. You have prepared a research preparation. The research preparation is an outcome of your proposed research project. Now you have carried out, you got funding from the research funding agency, and then you have submitted, you have carried out the work and prepared the report and submitted it to the agency. And you also have made an oral presentation of your entire thesis work or research work, research proposal work. And then the document will also be submitted to the client, and the client will go and he or she will read it and try to understand and confirm whether the report given by you, the research report given by you, is in conformity with requirements which the organization is facing. See, the research report should not give other additional difficulties or problems while solving the proposed problem. You may be solving a problem given by the industry through your research proposal, but that doesn't mean that some new problems may creep in while attempting the solution for the earlier issue. So that should be understood. Then the research follow-up. When once you give the proposal, then it's implementation. Now the technical report can be divided into three major parts. One is the front matter, the second one is the text, and the third one is the back matter. So front paper, front work or front matter includes the front cover, the title page, the abstract, the table of contents, table of list of tables, list of figures. So this is all these things are the preliminary sections or preliminary information which help a reader to understand what are there in the main text part, in which page, which particular aspect is present. So this is an indexing page or indexing method. Then comes the middle part, which is the text. Now the text should include an executive summary, which is also often called as an abstract. In case of a research proposal funded by some organization, it is normally referred as the executive summary. Then the introduction, then the methods, then assumptions and procedures, results and discussion, conclusions and the references. Here I have included all the things, but not divided into sections or chapters, which we will be doing a little later. So this is this part which is shown in the color magenta includes your whole work. So that is the major work, major part of your report. Then the back material includes appendices, list of symbols, abbreviations, acronyms, and back cover. In fact, the appendixes will be at the end, but the list of symbols, abbreviations, and acronyms used will normally included after the list of figures. So they normally shift to the front part, front matter. So the front matter includes the title page, abstract. In fact, abstract will be a little later because the executive summary and abstract will be one and the same. So you can have either an abstract or an executive summary. And preferably, it will be the first part of the main text. So from the front matter, the abstract can be excluded. And the list of symbols and list of abbreviations and acronyms are to be brought to the front part. Last but not the least, after appendixes, you can also include the list of publications which have been made based on the research proposal or thesis which you have carried out during this particular activity. So if you have done a research project and if you have written a couple of papers, then include them after your appendices. Similarly, if you have written a research paper or a couple of research papers and you have published in conferences and journals, so you include them also along with, in the back after appendices. Then, going to the details of the front matter, the abstract. What is an abstract? Abstract is a short summary that provides an overview of the purpose, scope, and findings contained in the report. If that is a research scheme report, it will contain this information. Or if it is a thesis which led you to get a PhD degree, then also it will include all these things. It will give the purpose of your research. Not that the purpose is not to be identified as obtaining a qualification. Your purpose is to identify or find out the usage of that particular research outcome, the effectiveness or importance of the outcome of your research to the industry or to the profession. Then the scope. The scope reviews the main points, the extent and limits of the investigation. So you may have a broad picture in your mind with reference to the system on which you are going to carry out the study. And due to several reasons, it may not be possible for you to identify the entire activity or carry out the entire activity because of limited resources, both financial as well as time related. So then what you do is you identify your scope and draw limitations for your study, and you include them also in this particular part. Then findings includes condensed conclusions and recommendations. Normally, you need not give the detailed conclusions and detailed recommendations. Only those conclusions which are worth for considering on the priority basis. So the front matter, the abstract, not to be more than 200 words. To provide an in a nutshell description without providing underlying details. Should not contain undefined symbols or undefined abbreviations or undefined acronyms. Not to make any reference by number to any references or illustrative material. So while you are writing the abstract, you will simply mention the work which you have referred with the help of the author name and the year in which the paper was published. You need not give a numbering to the references in abstract. Normally, the same is followed for synopsis also. In synopsis also, you need not give the reference numbers, but you can cite year in which that particular paper is published or that particular information is made available to general public. Your text includes these parts. One is introduction, the second is literature review, then the third is methods, assumptions, and procedures. Then the fourth is results and discussion. The fifth is summary, conclusions, recommendations, and scope for future study. So introduction, literature review, methods and assumptions, procedures, results and discussions, which also include interpretations, and then summary, conclusions, recommendations, scope for further study, and the references. Now, if it is a research proposal, again, you will have an introduction and you will have a literature review where you identify your problem and you also specify the motivation. Here you will also add whereas if it is a thesis writing, thesis document, your motivation is to be written in the introduction part. And in the literature review, with respect to the thesis, you will write the scope of the problem. So that is the basic difference between a research report or research proposal and the thesis. Then the third one is methods, assumptions, procedures, which also contain the data. If it is the thesis, which is an outcome of already conducted the research, you will indicate the data collected. And if it is a research proposal, you will write what could be the data that could be generated or what data you are going to collect or gather. Then, in case of research work outcome, that is the thesis, you will present the results and discuss the results. If it is a research proposal, you identify the possible outcome of the results, what type of results you expect, and then how you are going to analyze the results. So that should form the fourth part of the text matter in the case of a research proposal. If it is a research paper, you directly give the results and conclusion, because a research paper writing and thesis writing are exactly similar, but for the quantum of the work. And summary, conclusions, recommendations, and scope for future study, you will always identify and present in the case of the thesis or your research report. In case of research proposal, you again have to identify the expected conclusions and the expected stakeholders who are going to be benefited by your proposal. So that is the basic difference. Of course, the references are usual. So, combining this, the text summary states the problem, describes the method of investigation, contains conclusions and recommendations, not to contain any new information, not to contain differences. Text introduction should contain, or it prepares the readers to read the main body of the report, focuses on subject, purpose, and scope of the report. And contain defines the topic and associated terminology. May also include theory or historical background and its significance. The purpose contain or should indicate the reason for the investigation. The objectives are also to be identified in many cases. The scope or problem identification or definition also forms a part of this section. Only thing is, they will be written based on the inferences drawn through your literature review. Then once you go through the literature review, you identify the knowledge gaps, and now you will propose that you are going to take up a certain problem within this scope. So that is what is required, or what is the importance of literature review. So in maths, how did you discover the problem? What measuring tools were used? What measurement system was used? So when you are reporting your work, whether it is an outcome of your research scheme carried out, or whether it is a research work carried out obtaining your PhD, it is a report based on the work that has been already carried out. So there you write how you have identified them and what methods you have used or what measuring tools you have used and what methodology you have used for its analysis. Then what are the assumptions which you have made in that particular study? What do you think but cannot substantiate as a fact? The procedures. How did you get a better understanding of the problem? That means how you have interpreted the data and drawn your inferences. What sequential steps are followed to generate the results? How the methodology was validated. This is very, very important. See, it is not that I follow a particular method and say that following this method, I got the results. You have to establish that the methodology you have used or you have adopted to obtain your final results is to be satisfied or is to be explained how you have validated. So how your results are considered to be appropriate. So in the results and discussion, describes what you learned about the problem as a result of your research. It identifies the degree of accuracy related to your findings and gives the reader your view of the significance of your findings. This is very, very important. See, whatever work you have done and whatever conclusions you have done, you can under no circumstances make them or report them as universal conclusions. You have obtained the results based on a particular data. So the data is having a limitation. So you have to mention the limitations or the shortcomings of your work. Then they identifies degree of accuracy. No, you can say that my results are satisfactory within a particular confidence level, that is within plus or minus 5%. My results are appreciable or appropriate. So you have to always identify the range of validity of the results. So results to have a physical significance should enable the identification of parameters that influence the behavior. See, whatever results you get, they must be inconsistent with the physical behavior of the system. Suppose you heat a particular rod and measure the temperature. You should get the temperature at that point will be gradually increasing with time, but not decreasing or not varying haphazardly. So you have to always draw your conclusions in such a way that they are having physical coherence. Then should be carried out in comparison with the existing information. Now, when you present your results, you have to always compare your results with the existing information. or the physical behavior of the system. And you must get satisfactory uh, coincidence between the variation of results as per your observation and the variation of the results as per the natural system behavior. To establish the behavior or trend in specific domain of study. Again, you have to always identify the range in which you have carried out your study and specifically mention that your outcome or your results or your conclusions are valid only in a particular domain. Okay. Conclusions, recommendations, and further study. In this part, you have to restate your results. What are the factual findings that resulted from your research? What are you implying as a result of these findings? And then the concluding remarks should inform what are your opinions based on the findings and how best are your findings in comparison with the earlier findings for the same problem. This indicates the extent to which you have progressed in the direction of new innovation. So if you say that my results are valid in a wider range and under more critical conditions compared to the earlier investigators' results. So then definitely whatever you have done, whatever is your work, can be extended beyond the existing boundaries. So that is what is required. How best are your findings in comparison with the earlier findings for the same problem? That means, is there any betterment in your predictions compared to the earlier predictions by earlier investigators as compared to the physical situation of the system? Then application to field problems. This you have to identify. How the results help in providing a solution to the identified problem. In what range of physical domain the research findings are applicable. Then recommendation. Generally included to have a glance of most significant results for ready application for practical problems. See, although you give your conclusions, if you list out certain recommendations, then it will be very useful for the industry or the profession to directly take them and apply them to their problems. So, it is always preferable to have a section on the recommendations to contain that information which enables the client may be here, the, the agency which funded your research, or it may be the scientific community or the professional community or the industry. So, to contain the information which enables the client to proceed with action plan for resolving the key issue addressed. Enable the clients to take corrective steps in the design, manufacturing, and marketing. So they have direct impact. Your research is having direct impact on the performance of the industry. Additional areas of study may also be recommended through this section, that is scope for further study. Then what are the rider conditions? See, there may be certain uh, aspects which will not be supported by your work or your outcome. So you have to mention which part of the problem or solution is having a limitation and should be eliminated from applying. So that is what is known as the rider conditions. Then finally, the references. The author has to cite all the secondary research resources that were used to develop an understanding of the problem. Support the information contained in the report in formulating the methodology used for obtaining the results. References should also include the sources that highlight the validity of the assumptions made in defining the problem, limiting the scope of the study, identifying the study parameters, and their range. So finally, the back matter includes the appendices, bibliography. As I told, the list of symbols, abbreviations, acronyms, glossary, all should be taken in the beginning, and the index. Now here I have added the distribution list and any other matter like communications, etc. Now this is with reference to your research scheme report. Research scheme report. A research scheme which you have completed and you are going to submit to the funding organization. So here you have to write the distribution list. That means you have to identify the organizations which are going to be benefited by your research. So the outcome of this particular study may be useful to certain industries or research organizations, and you have to list down them so that it will be useful for them. And of course, any other matter, communication. Then, when you are going to finally publish your paper or publish your outcome, you should follow ethics and you should have transparency and authenticity. So the research paper is a guidance for follow-up research. So whatever you are going to present in your research paper, it will guide others to follow up the research. And the research report is meant for implementation purpose and it will have a physical relevance. And if it is a thesis document, it is a guidance for follow-up research, just like the research paper. So the difference between these three, report, paper, and thesis, are shown here. The report sometimes may be in more number of volumes. Normally, your research report may contain volume 1, volume 2, like that. Then your research paper is limited number of pages. And your thesis is subjected for adjudication. So that means your thesis will go to some people and they will study and they will validate or adjudicate it and give their approval. So once the approval is given, then the contents can be strongly presented in conferences or referred journals in the form of published papers. So here I will stop and only what I would like to mention is the basic difference between a PhD thesis and a master's thesis. Normally, in the case of PhD thesis, it opens a new era, it provides unifying framework, resolves long-standing questions, and it thoroughly explores an area, and it sometimes contradicts the existing knowledge, and many times it is experimentally validated. So it experimentally validates the theory. Now, a master's thesis or in fact both PhD and master thesis, they produce ambitious system. They provide empirical data. This is the difference between a PhD and master's thesis when compared to your research report. In PhD or master's thesis, these are the elements. They provide empirical data and they derive superior algorithms and they develop new methodology or new tool and produce sometimes negative result also. A thesis is an original contribution to the knowledge. An advisor or reader will expect that you have identified a worthwhile problem or question which has not been previously answered. The only thing is the extent of its expectation will be more in the case of a PhD thesis compared to an MTech thesis or MTech dissertation. You have solved the problem and answered the question. A thesis is an attempt to persuade a reader or viewer who will ask, what is the research question? So you provide in your document answers for the following questions. Is it a good question? That means, is your research question or research proposal is a good one or not? Has it been answered before? Is it a useful question to work on? Did the author convince me that the question was adequately answered? Has the author made an adequate contribution to the knowledge? So, a reader will or a reviewer will go through all these questions and judge whether these are satisfied or not. So, these are the important points related to the research paper writing or thesis document writing or research proposal writing. So in the next class, that is next Saturday, I am going to consider how best a PhD thesis it can be written and what creative steps can be followed. So with this, we'll conclude for today. And I have already sent you the study material. Go through it and be prepared for the next Saturday's class. before I wind up for today, give your feedback on the extent of your understanding and